to the show. My name's Mavis Robinson, and today I'm joined by Paul Girard. Paul is a lifetime resident of Bourne and a current member of the Board of Trustees of the Bourne Historical Society. And Paul, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you for allowing me to be here.
So, I said you're a lifetime member of Bourne. You've lived in Bourne all your life? Were you born in Bourne?
I was born in Toby Hospital, Wareham.
Okay.
But I started my life off in 41 Wilson Avenue in Buzzards Bay.
Right in Buzzards Bay,
Right
okay.
in Buzzards Bay. And
what year were you born, Paul?
In 1942.
1942?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 1952, that would make you 10 years old, growing up in Buzzards Bay. What was life like as a 10-year-old growing up in Buzzards Bay?
Yeah, it was fun. Wilson Avenue was a kind of a road where if you didn't live there, you probably wouldn't drive down it. So, and it probably still is today. There was no traffic. We played in the streets like it was a playground.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of sand in the streets because we kicked it in a lot.
Okay.
And
were there a lot of kids your age in the neighborhood?
There was a lot of kids our age. We had a bunch. We had a gang called the Wilson Avenue Wildcats.
Oh, wow.
And you know, it was the Weston family, which was 5 kids.
Yep.
It was right down the road. Paul Musial was across the street. Bobby Cook was in there. There was a lot. Donna Ames was directly across the street, and she was one of the guys. And
now, when you said you had a gang, you had an official.
Yeah, official gang. Yeah, we call them. Yeah, we were after the Jacobs gang.
Oh, really?
You know, yeah, but you know, it wasn't gang. You know,
okay.
It was fun. We had fun together, and then sometimes we were opposite. Let's go get them guys. But it was no big deal. It was just children's stuff.
Right.
You know,
right.
But yeah.
So what kinds of games did you like to play as kids when you got together?
We played baseball a lot. You know, just chasing each other around, one thing or another. Football was fun. I'll tell you a funny story about Paul Musial across the street.
Love to hear it.
Playing marbles, small kids. We were probably 5 or 6 years old, and when you played marbles, you got the marble in the hole, you kept it, you know, and so you could win the other person's marbles. But one day, Paul and I played marbles, and I won all his marbles, took them all.
All right.
Yeah, so he wasn't very happy. His aunt lived right across the street, which was pretty much our age. She was his aunt, but she was our age. So right next to him was Donna Ames, and he went in Donna's house, come out with another bag of marbles. He says, "Let's go," and I won all those.
You won all the marbles. That's where that expression comes from.
Yeah, I got all my marbles.
Yep,
yeah, but the problem was that Donna found them missing that night. Donna's parents came over to my parents' house, which is right across the street, told the story, and my parents made me give the marbles back. I wasn't very happy. I'd had a great day, and now it was ruined.
Sounds like he owes you a bag of marbles. Did you ever make good on that?
Well, it's funny, you know, we went our separate ways. We grew up, of course, and we got together a couple times during our lifetime. He moved to Florida, Paul did. Yeah. And, you know, that was that. About 6, 7 years ago, I was taking my bike down the canal road, canal access, riding my bike like a lot of other people do. Walking the other way was Paul Musial.
Oh, wow.
And I said, you know, and I recognized him. I said, "Paul," he goes, "Yeah, you know, we talked." And he says, I just got my aunt Donna's house. She said, "My wife and I are living in it." And he says, "You wouldn't believe it," he says, "but I was in the cellar cleaning up some of Donna's things." And I came across a bag of marbles.
Those are your marbles.
And I said, "Man," I said, "those are mine." And he laughed.
That's great.
About a week later, he stopped by my house, and he brought this.
You brought them with you. Wow,
he
that's
brought
wonderful.
this as a bank bag. This is what Donna had them in.
Wow.
Federal Reserve Bank, and in it is a whole bunch of old marbles.
Wow. Those are amazing.
Yeah.
Now, it's funny, you're talking about playing marbles as a kid, and this was a big part of your childhood, but I don't know if kids today even play marbles anymore.
I don't think so.
Yeah, so that's something that...
Although my grandkids have, my grandkids, once in a while, they get them out and lay them across the bed and look them over.
They like to look them over.
Yeah, they're small, and they're pretty fascinated with the different colors and so forth. So they do like marbles, but no, I don't think marbles, you know, the kids want to get on the little thingies now.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that I hear people talk about a lot about, you know, childhood today is that kids don't do a lot of unstructured play. You know, what was it like? You know, did you have to report in often when you were playing, or were you sort of leaving in the morning and just coming home for dinner?
We did our own thing.
You did your own thing?
We absolutely did our own thing. Even at night, you know, the old saying of when the street lights come on, come home, that was in effect for myself and most kids. You know, we were gone. We were gone for the day.
Yeah.
I remember one time a bunch of us were together. We were probably 8, 9 years old, maybe 10 tops. You know, Larry Weston and myself and a bunch of others. We decided to go to Monument Beach, see the kids over there.
Okay.
The easiest way to Monument Beach from Buzzards Bay is to take the railroad bridge.
Take the railroad bridge.
Yeah.
Were you taking a train?
Yeah. No, we were on feet. Yeah. So we kind of knew the schedules of the trains, but trains ran quite often. So even if you did know the schedules, you just go down there by the bridge will come down. Yeah. And there's a walkway in the bridge.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we get on the walkway and we head over. Wow. Well, one particular time, Larry Weston and I, we kind of got backtracked, and the rest were ahead of us. They were all bigger than us anyhow. And we were a little distance from the end of the bridge, and the bridge all of a sudden done that shake, and the damn thing started up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
oh,
and Larry
wow.
and I, we were going, whoa, you know, I don't think I ever ran so fast in my life. Larry was right with me, you know, and we got to the end of it. It seemed probably like 20 feet up, but it was probably a couple or 3 feet up.
Yeah.
When we hit the end, boy, we jumped it.
You had to jump for it.
Man, we were some scared.
Wow.
The biggest problem on that was that Larry, as we walked down the tracks with everybody else, realized that he ran so fast that the quarter came out of his pocket. And he complained all the way to Monument Beach. Yeah, Larry.
Now, what could you do with a quarter then? I mean,
oh,
a quarter.
You could do a lot.
Yeah,
Soda was a nickel, or candy bars were a nickel. You could actually buy candy for a penny.
So a quarter was a day's worth of fun. So that
was
a pretty big
that
loss.
was it. Yeah, a quarter was a big deal, but it was in the bottom of the canal at this point.
Yeah.
And I suppose it still is today. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah.
Now, I imagine kids these days wouldn't really be able to get away with that. I think that bridge is a lot more closely watched.
I think there's probably a lot of cameras around now.
Yeah.
Back then, the operator was way up top, and there was definitely wasn't any cameras.
And you never got caught? Never got in trouble?
No.
Yeah.
You got away with a lot back then.
So now you're walking from Wilson Avenue in Buzzards Bay across the railroad bridge, sometimes, or at least one time, narrowly missing, being raised up in the air.
Yeah.
And so that's a long walk. How many? I mean, that's a couple of miles.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a couple of miles. It's probably a mile and a half just to get to the railroad bridge.
How long would it take you to make that walk?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Monument Beach, I remember the stretch from the bridge to Monument Beach was a lot longer than the stretch through Buzzards Bay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was a ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're just doing that with your buddies? No?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we just did it. Yeah. We didn't even talk about it when we got home, you know. Probably our parents wouldn't approve of us crossing the railroad bridge anyhow.
Right.
But we did it.
Just don't mention it.
Yeah. Yeah, just be quiet, and no questions asked, no answers given.
Now Wilson Ave looks like it's right just smack in the middle of the village of Buzzards Bay.
Yeah,
You've got Buttermilk Bay on one side and the canal on the other.
Yeah.
Where would you spend the most of your time when you were in your early teens?
Oh, yeah. But by the time I was in my teens, my family had sold a house in Wilson Avenue and bought a house on Puritan Road in Buzzards Bay.
Oh, okay.
And I believe I was in the 3rd grade when that happened, and so I spent some time there, but it was around there, you know, bicycling, and we got a little better. We had bicycles.
Now, did you have to leave your gang behind when you moved to Puritan Ave, or you kept in touch with them?
No, we were always. It's a small village. It isn't very far to go.
Yeah.
I was in the Jacobs side of the family, the town then, so I was more with Phil and Stanley Jacobs, his sister Barbara Jacobs, Ronnie Haskell. Those people. That's who I hung out with more later on in life. But there was still Paul Musial and the Westons and all that.
So 3rd grade, you moved to Puritan Road.
Yeah.
Where did you go to school? Where was 3rd grade?
Third grade actually was Sagamore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, actually back then the schools, I believe, were a little crowded. So every kid in Buzzards Bay that was in the 3rd through the third and fourth, I believe, went to Sagamore.
Okay, and how would you get to school?
The bus would take us there.
Okay, so they have, yep, they have the buses running.
First and second grade, there was a school in Buzzards Bay.
Yeah.
And it was called the Little School, and it's right where the police station is on Main Street in Buzzards Bay today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it was a little boys and girls entry. It was the old-fashioned schoolhouse where when you walked in, you came in the coat room. Boys' side would be on your left. The girls' coat room would be on the right. So it was two separate doors for boys and girls.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was I don't know. I guess girls were new to coming to school and they just didn't know how to take it yet.
Okay.
I don't know. But anyhow, that was the school. You walked to school there. So I walked from Wilson Avenue to where the police station is today.
Yeah, yeah.
And I remember the first time first day of school, my mother walked me because I didn't know how to get there, of course. She walked me, and we got close to the school, and there was some kids out there in the yard, and there was a teacher there. You could see the tall person. So there's your teacher. She says, "Go tell her who you are." And my mother walked back, and I went to school. And that was my introduction to school. There was no preschools or anything in those days. When you got 6 years old, you went to first grade. That was your first schooling.
Yeah.
And after that, it was walk to school. I'd go out of my house and walk and meet up with one kid, meet up another. And by the time you got to school, there was several of you, you know, at the same part of the path.
That's how those early gangs probably started.
That's how the gang started, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I remember one time, there was a field we had to cross over, and it was behind where the Episcopal church is in Buzzards Bay Center, St. Peter's. And I don't even remember if the church was there then or not. But it was just field behind it. There was a little path actually worn pretty heavy down through there. And one time we saw a cat that had recently died lay inside of the path. So we got our first biology lesson there because every day we walked by, we'd see how good the cat was deteriorating.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the time the school year was out, the bones were showing. Yeah. But we, you know, as little kids are growing up, they do too good.
Yeah, a study in biology.
Yeah, that was our biology class.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah, those are fun times. Those are, you know, when you were small.
So what about now? What did high school? What changes did high school bring? Did you did you go to Bourne High School?
I went to Bourne High School.
Okay.
It was the old school, I guess they call it the Cody School there. But
okay, yeah.
Today it's Cody. Back then it was just Bourne High School, and we were the last class to graduate out of there in 1960.
Oh, all right.
All right. The new school. Well, not new anymore, but that started in 1961.
Yep.
I wasn't a great student. I think they graduated me simply because they didn't want me in the new building. Yeah.
Just trying to move you along.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you like school?
Not really.
Yeah.
I wasn't a great student.
Yeah.
School was boring to me, and I didn't apply myself very seriously. My nickname was Hacker. And I wrote it on different walls throughout the school. And
although it's funny, now people call each other's hackers if they're able to do things really well and to cheat the system. So you should wear that nickname proudly now.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't even know why. My brother was Honker. You know, everybody had a nickname back then. We had Phil Jacobs was Willie Lump Lump. We just called him Willie. His brother was Bucky.
Yeah.
One of the kids' names was Puka, but his mother made us change it to Pretzel. You know.
And did you change it to Pretzel?
Yeah, we did. We out of respect to his mother.
So graduating from high school in 1960, you know, you've got the teenage years in the 50s, and all I know about that time is what I see in the movies and from the show Happy Days.
Yeah.
And it's really sort of presented as an idyllic time to grow up, and you know, girls with bobby socks and poodle skirts and guys in leather jackets.
Yeah.
How close is that to reality?
Yeah, it wasn't a predominant with a you know, the good times when it's predominant is in Happy Days, but that kind of covers it. Driver's licenses were at 16, and pretty much at my 16th birthday, I went and got my driver's license. I'd already had a car bought, registered, and ready to go. So as soon as I got home from my drive, I had a 1940 Ford, smoked awful.
Now, how does a 16-year-old afford a car? Did you have a job at that time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I worked for Danny Made Ice Cream starting at 13. As
good.
Yeah, and kids had paper routes then too. I had a paper route.
Yeah.
You delivered papers, newspapers, and that got you your money. My parents weren't overly rich. My father worked in the post office, and my mother worked too, just to make things get by. And they never gave me any money, but I was ambitious enough to want things and go get them. So yeah, I worked. The car cost $50. Cars were pretty cheap then.
$50.
Yeah, gas was 29 cents.
Wow.
Somewhere around there.
So that quarter that your friend dropped out of his pocket would have bought you almost a gallon of gas.
Almost a gallon of gas.
Yep.
Yeah, and that was later on. It was probably 15 cents when he dropped his quarter.
Right, right.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it was fun times. I remember Ronnie Haskell had a 49 Ford that was it was a convertible, but it didn't have a top.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Tough in the wintertime.
Yeah, well, I remember going to school with him, shoveling the snow off the seat so we could sit down.
Wow.
Oh, it was harsh, I remember. You kind of tucked yourself into the dash like this, and off to school you went. But you know, you had your own car, you would take it to school.
Yep.
Yeah.
So now, once you had your own car at 16, you're driving to school. What's your social life like at that point? Are you doing a lot of taking girls out to dances? What are kids? What do teenagers
There was
do for
the
fun?
school had dances.
Yeah.
Yeah, dates for movies. You know, submarine races along the canal.
Submarine races.
Yeah.
Are those real? I remember a couple of boys telling me about the submarine races, but I never saw a submarine.
You know what? The reason you didn't see them is because they were under the water.
Ah, I see.
But if you look real careful, you could see a little wake going along. Yeah. No, it was an excuse to get you there.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that started then, huh?
Yeah,
We didn't invent that in the 80s?
That was even back then, yeah. Oh, yeah. They've been going on forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. They go along with the myth of that there's a tunnel under the canal, too, for the residents. But, yeah.
No, well, I've got my resident permit, right, for the tunnel?
Yeah, you
Beats
also.
the traffic in the summertime.
Oh, it does.
That's right.
It does.
That's right.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Anyhow. It was fun. We do have some pictures. There's a picture of, actually, Paul Musio gave me this picture. There's a picture of myself, Larry Weston. One of the kids in there, he's a real short one. I think it might have been Bobby Cook, but I'm not sure. And then there was Donna Ames that I was talking about.
Yeah.
And,
one of the guys.
Yeah, one of the guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the other things we used to do is we used to go to the movies a lot. Buzzards Bay Theater was a big thing.
I remember the Buzzards Bay Theater.
Saturday matinees were great, and there was good times. I remember going there. My shirt was so dirty that somebody mentioned at one time that your shirt's too dirty to go in the movies, so I took it off and turned it inside out.
That works.
And it looked good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a T-shirt.
Yep.
Yeah. But you know, we had fun then. I'll tell you a quick story. And when the movie Titanic came out, my wife and I decided to go to Buzzards Bay Theater and watch that movie. I hadn't been to that Buzzards Bay Theater in a long, long time. So partially through the movies, I had to go to the bathroom, so I got up and excused myself and got up and went to the men's room. And I walked in there, and that men's room hadn't changed a bit since I was a little kid, and it looked familiar to me. But what really looked familiar is that they had two urinals there. They were about 5 feet tall.
5 feet?
Yeah, they went down into the floor, and the floor kind of slanted into it, so I guess it was, tile floor, so it made easy cleaning. But they were up there. So when you were a little kid, you walked up to that thing, this thing was way over your head.
Right,
You flushed it, you had to reach way up
right.
there again. Yeah. So here I am, I'm an adult now, married, children, and I'm looking at those urinals, I'm going, gee, I've been peeing in those for over 50 years. Yeah, and I was happy with that.
You never know what's going to bring back those memories.
No,
right?
Yeah. So anyhow, when I went back set with my wife, I started telling my wife about it. I won't watch the movie. She'd tell me later. So yeah. So anyhow, it was a couple months later. There was another movie there. Let's go to the movies. Okay, we'll go back to Buzzards Bay Theater. So I went there. I went back in the bathroom just to bring back old memories again. And would you believe it? They remodeled that bathroom.
Wow.
They did. They took those urinals, they're gone.
Wow.
They had these stupid things hanging on the wall, and I was mad.
Yeah. They took a little piece of your childhood.
Yeah, I was mad.
Yeah.
I walked out, and there was a person, that worked there, and I said, "Where's your manager?" You know, this lady came up to me, and I'm the manager. Is there a problem? I said, "Yeah." "What the hell did you do to the bathroom?" we remodeled it. I says, you took out a beautiful antique bathroom and put this awful looking mess in there. I said, "What'd you do with the urinals? I want one." She said,
"Any luck?"
"No." She said, "The plumber took him. I don't even know who he was."
Yeah.
So
they probably ended up.
Changed. Yeah. Today, the whole theater's gone.
I know, that was a sad day when they knocked that theater down.
I get pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a sad day.
I remember, you know, seeing. I mean, in the experience of before it got chopped up into little theaters too. When you went in, it was just one picture showing.
Yeah, we went there. I went there once.
Other than the IMAX these days, I don't know that theaters are going in that direction with the big room with just showing one show at a time.
No, I don't think they can make money at one show at a time.
Yeah.
It's just times have changed.
Yep.
And that theater was going. Buzzards Bay Center was changing.
Yep.
You know.
Did you used to go to the Baker's 5 and Dime?
Bacon 5 and Dime. Baker's had a peanut machine in the window that roasted peanuts. Yeah, you went in there and got a bag of peanuts. The only place you could buy toys.
The only place you could buy toys,
was Baker's. Yeah, and you had a roll of them.
And the 5 and Dime, you really could buy things for a dime.
You could buy things for
or
a dime.
A nickel.
Yeah. I remember he had pea shooters in there. You know, it was just a fat straw. And you went to the grocery store and bought peas, and you know, every kid in town bought them. Yeah, and the police went in and told the bakers to take them off the shelf.
Yeah.
And he did. Yeah, you can't buy them anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and they didn't last long, so we wore them out pretty quick. They bent easy. You know, but yeah. So anyhow, that's growing up in Buzzards Bay.
Yeah.
You know, my father worked in the post office down on Main Street.
That must have been fun having your dad at the post office.
Yeah.
Did he just knew everybody in town, or?
He knew everybody. Eventually, he got into mail delivery, rural route. Did the other side of the bridge mostly.
Yep.
But yeah, my dad was there. My mother actually worked in the Western Union. That was part of Baker's, way down the end of Baker's. It was there was a little office, and it was Western Union. Western Union was a big thing then.
Yeah.
Today it isn't.
Yeah. But, so your dad worked at the post office. Your mom worked at Western Union.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing, having a working mom at that time.
It is. It was kind of unusual.
Yeah.
Most moms stayed home then, but you know, time got on. You know, I left Bourne for a few years afterwards. I was actually a hippie. You know, I did the hippie thing and moved back to town. I went to work.
What was the hippie thing?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me.
Moved around the country.
What's a family safe story you can tell us from the hippie thing, the hippie days?
There isn't too much.
Okay.
Yeah, New York City for a while, Florida. Moved out west a little bit.
Yeah.
Wintered in Florida. Yeah, it was nice. But coming back to Bourne was nice. I went to work for Buzzards Bay Sign Company. I actually worked for Buzzards Bay Sign Company. Charlie Matthews owned it. After school, the last couple of years of school, I worked there.
Yeah.
And he hired me right up. I worked for him for a few years, and then I went to work for Charlie Wallace and on Main Street repairing cars.
Oh, okay.
You know, I was pretty good on repairing cars. Charlie taught me a lot. He was a good man.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. He had a great sense of humor. You know, he used to do some. He was probably the best welder around. He was definitely the best welder. He welded metal gas tanks for Outboard Motors a lot. And one time a customer came in and holding his gas tank, his boat gas tank. So what Charlie would do is take a rag, he'd soak it in kerosene, a long skinny rag, he'd stick one end in the tank, and he'd light the other end, and that would flash it. The fire would come out, and it would flash it. Then you can weld it without worrying about it blow up.
Wow.
Okay. So Charlie lit the thing, and he stood back, standing next to the customer, and he goes, just joking, he said, "Now watch this thing blow up." Damn it if it didn't blow up. And Charlie was so apologetic. I was only kidding. It wasn't supposed to blow up. I mean, it was. I just opened the thing right up. You know, and the guy never did believe Charlie. Charlie was a good man. My wife and I adopted a daughter. My daughter Annie, she's 47 years old now. We adopted her at 13 days old. The adoption agency needed This is when I was working for Charlie. They needed a letter of recommendation, a few of them, and Charlie says, "I'll write one." And he wrote the most beautiful letter. It was just the way he was.
Yeah.
You know, he wrote. He praised me so much. I didn't think it was me. and we of course we get accepted to adopt Annie, and I say to this day that I think it had a lot to do with Charlie's letter. He was just a good person.
Oh, that's nice.
Charlie Wallace was great. You know, of course he's gone now. Been gone a long time.
Well, from what I mean, it sounds like the names that you've named, these are people that you formed friendships with in grammar school and stayed close to. I mean, it seems like the friends you made in Bourne are people that really stayed in your life. Would you say that?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. All these people, you know, even if you don't see them for a long time, you know, they're friends.
Yeah.
When they come back, it's just like picking up a friendship that used to be. Yeah. So a lot of them are gone now. They passed on.
Yeah.
But yeah, we get into other things. We get into hydroplane racing.
Hydroplane racing?
Yeah, I get into that.
Now, what is that?
Yeah, actually, when I was working at the sign company, Charlie Matthews, that owned the sign company, actually loaned me the money to buy my first racing boat.
Where would you do that?
All over the Northeast, sometimes further out. Actually, in 1964, the first year I was racing, was the canal celebration was on, and there was a hydroplane race in the canal.
Oh, wow.
And I raced in that. That was my first year of racing.
Wow,
I raced in that. But
that must have been quite a sight to see, with the boats going right down the canal.
Yeah, it was. It went from the Maritime Academy to pretty close to the Bourne Bridge and back on a 3-lap race. Yeah. And it was fun. I did it for about 15 years.
Now, is that something that was common? I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a hydroplane scooting around the water of Little Bay these days.
No, you don't. These are national sanctioned competition races.
Okay.
This wasn't a Yahoo go fast boats. This was strictly competition, and it was good. I participated in national championships. Yeah. I never won one, but I got close, and it was a big thing. I actually held one record. I flipped 3 hydroplanes in one day.
Wow.
Yeah, all in the same turn. I was racing 3 classes and dumped them all.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was good. I won a saddle that year. There's a saddle that goes around for the person who can't stay in their boat. And it still goes around today. And this was back in 1970, early 70s. Wow. And but that saddle still gets awarded. It just got awarded again. Yeah. Because I still belong to the associations that did the race, and I keep up with it. Yeah. But I won it that year because of those 3. Wow. I had a good year. I won a lot of races that year, but it was trying. I was trying too hard. Yeah. Well, after racing, I get
flipping 3 boats is lucky that you survived that.
Yeah. I get into flying airplanes after that.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. And I enjoyed it. I remember I was running a used car business. I had a used car business in the late 70s. And a friend of mine come by and he says, "Hey," he says, "you ever think about flying?" I said, "Not really." He says, "Well, the Plymouth Airport's giving one lesson, $5. Let's go." I said, "Yeah, let's go." So we did. Yeah. I got about 6 hours of flying in, and a plane came up for sale, and I bought the damn thing. Yeah, a Cessna 172. Wow. Yeah, and I got my license on that. I hired an instructor, by the hour. Yeah. To finish it off, you had to have at least 30 hours of flying in, half with an instructor and half solo, to get a license. And I got my license on it. And for a few years, we really enjoyed that Cessna. Wow. I even took the family to Florida. My youngest was such an infant that my wife had him in a little seat in front of him, and she was bottle feeding him and changing his diapers. Well, the other 2 kids in the plane, all the way to Florida. Well, the other 2 sat on suitcases in the back. They were all small. Wow. Yeah, it was fun.
Well, Paul, I can't believe I'm saying this, but our time is up. The time has flown. You've had some great stories, and I hope that actually you can join us again, because I feel like we've only just scratched the surface.
We can drag this along.
I would like to do that. I would like to do that. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time, and I'd like to thank you folks for joining us today, and for joining me as we took this glimpse into Bourne's past. Thanks so much.